Hey, what is up? Welcome back to Courtroom Shenanigans with your girl. It's nice to have you here as we do more and get towards the concluding moments of Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, part of the Ace Attorney Chronicles collection that you see right here. I don't know if we're getting to the ending today, but we will certainly get close to. I foresee maybe this episode and one more until we get to our game ending. It's going to be a great time, and you're along for the ride in this episode. Welcome in everyone in Twitch chat and in the YouTube chat as well. Thank you for choosing to come along to the show, and if you end up enjoying what you see around here, if this is your first time here or if you've returned from like previous videos, don't forget to do the thing and let me know if you like this. Leave a like and comment down below. If you'd like to go further with your love and support, of course, you can always hit the subscribe button and hit the bell too. That'll give you notifications about the future episodes that come up in this big old series that I'm doing, as well as everything else that we end up doing and uploading in the future. So yeah, just in case this is your first time here and not sure what we're doing here, I am doing what I'm calling my Ace Attorney Chronology, a great old marathon of the mainline Ace Attorney games in-game timeline order. We have had a fantastic time with Great Ace Attorney in this Chronicles collection, and like I said, we are nearing the ending of episode 5 in Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. And what happened? Well, we were talking about revelation upon revelation. I think more of those definitely happened last time. We had a great old sequence where on a mission to gather some more evidence for us, we had a little bit of a session where we played as Sholmes and Mikotoba out doing their own little mini dance of deduction. That was a very fun time to do, where we found out plenty. And as we get in, I think when we come back, we're in the next phase of the trial period, where maybe we have some new witnesses to bring onto the stand to have them talk about things. I think one of the big things is what we, in that dance section, we actually subpoenaed a new person that we'd like to have brought into the trial, and I think today is the day that we're going to see them. Right! Big old exciting stuff's here. So let's just waste no time and get in. Let me just make sure. Here is my voice when we do some blue text, and I'm thinking, and my character is thinking to themselves. And we should be back to normal now. That should be working. Alright, I've wasted enough time. Here we go. The 4th of November at 9:30 a.m. Nice bright and early. I don't like 9:30 a.m. starts. For stuff, not usually anyway. In the Old Bailey courtroom. So we continue our tumultuous trial where we left off last time, and you with the really terrible sounding unicorn king gavel sound that you've got. Jesus Christ, I don't like that. I don't think I'm ever going to like that. Alright, we have Mr. Strongheart again, presiding over proceedings in this one. Before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. No, please not that announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice, and the discovery that a respected yard inspector was at its heart until he himself perished in an assassination plot. Yes, indeed. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion that we will stop at nothing to uncover the true truth behind these disturbing findings. Should hope so. You're gonna do it because you have a, like I said, you have motives. You have motives, I'm still certain of it. Counsels, you will undertake this trial with the resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Resolve? Yes, that's my intention. Stoic as ever, Cosima, of course. My lord, if I may inquire, the defendant may speak. On what grounds is Cosima Asogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor? Oh yeah, that's a big thing. Like we sort of outed Cosima in a little bit of a I don't know if underhanded is the way to do it, but we certainly brought to light that Kazuma could have his own sort of bubbling, brewing intentions of his own. The whole reason why he's here in the first place is, I think that became a little bit more clearer as we had in our last episode. So yeah. So now we're questioning his integrity to be here in the prosecutor's desk. He has admitted to colluding with the victim in a plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life for the last 10 years has all been leading up to this one day. Kazuma. Whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. And I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper. Kazuma is bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression that we're heading into a very dangerous territory.
Is that really even Kazuma-sama standing before us?
As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted this prosecutor's request. For my own ulterior motives, I say to myself. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume? Yes, my lord! I had to take a deep breath before that because I don't know if he's even sure he wants this. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Baruch van Zieks. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jigoku into the courtroom. That's who we subpoenaed last time. At last, then. We've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. Ow! Why do we keep doing this? Come on, Yunosuke. It's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test it to the limit. Game switches into a turn-based JRPG. If only it did! The next big thing is like Capcom turns up with Squeenix and does an Ace Attorney RPG. Courtroom-based JRPG. Wouldn't that certainly be something where your attacks say like your rebuttals and your objections and presenting evidence? Oh my god, that could be a thing. Why hasn't that happened? Honestly, why hasn't that happened? Witness, state your name and occupation for the court. So it was you who issued this, was it? Your subpoena? I did what was necessary. Well, look what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you take that turn with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. My name is Seishiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan. 16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am of course fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. I hear they also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiations. I put my all into that treaty. Joshidoku, I must ask. Well, I never. Fancy the young murdering student turning up here of all places. Could you leave that part out, please? You acquitted me yourself! And now I'm a practicing defense lawyer. Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see. You came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium. God, there are some long words in here, and I've got to be careful not to trip over them. But then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France. Took flight? I'd have to object to that turn of phrase. Then explain yourself. What exactly were the circumstances? Well, I was somewhat expecting this, and I'm sorry to say, I decline to comment. What? Leaving the country prematurely when I was an invited guest may be questionable etiquette. But my decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify. Unrelated, you say? About that. I appreciate that a respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, as in a foreigner in a country, not an actual, like, extraterrestrial, I'd obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. It's as simple as that.
So you would run from all of this?
I beg your pardon?
This case is far more reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder. A case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now.
A year ago in Japan? The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean? That's right! And you, Just Jigoku, are at the heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it. Well, Yunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. Let's see your evidence, then. What proof do you have that Seishiro Jigoku is involved in this case? Our confidence save is there as needed, because this is going to cost us a soul point if we get it wrong. So I've got to put it down. Put it down! What is it that I'm about to put down? Like, what is it I'm about to put down? Report findings indicate duplicate follows by stealing into Judge Shikoku's office. Oh, this has to be it, isn't it? The fact that it's the fact that he had this telegram and it was in his office that and it was taken rather unscrupulously, shall we say, by Mr. Sholmes. All that time ago. Was it? No. It was by Hosonaga. Oops. I'm confusing my names now, but this is the fact here that we found this in your office, which means you have details about all this, about the 4 names that was sent out in this, yeah, about all that back then. So this must be the bit.
Take that!
Take that! This is a telegram detailing a communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communication contained 4 names: K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. Hold it! You little... Oh god, he's gonna... He is going to break this again. I foresee this happening. Where did you get that? In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Jigoku. What? How on earth did you... What's this all about? Why is my name on that list? This list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. K. Asogi and A. Shin are the names of assassins. No! A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett, but her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain.
A. Shin and her victim, J. Wilson.
And the murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Asogi, whose victim was the British police inspector Tobias Gregson.
K. Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other.
What exactly is the defense suggesting? Do you get it because assassin sounds like assassin? Incredible wordplay, yeah. Get used to the wordplay and the names here because it's only going to go uphill from here as we go through the rest of the games, I swear to God. Oh boy. These 2 cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. And the telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill. What? Why are you over here with a sword, Kazuma? Like, why? Come on now. The telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you! Gosh, was he really? We're delving in here. Judge Jigoku! What's this all about? And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission. But the mark wasn't just Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard, as shown by the name on the killing contract. Very impressive, Yunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie. Duh? The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seishiro Jigoku was the mark came entirely from you! Ah! You deliberately avoided saying a name! The defense claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. You're deflecting! You're seriously deflecting. I think you have a play in this. You definitely have a play in this, sir. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say for yourself? It would absolutely make play. It would absolutely, like, fall into place. Some of the highest of high-ups in each respective country in all of this. One being Supreme Justice of Japan and also responsible for foreign affairs in Japan versus Lord Chief Justice in Great Britain, two like some of the highest elevated positions in either country, colluding to do this all together. It's perfect. It's a melting pot. It perfectly fits into place, I think. It's gonna be all that. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say to yourself? His silence only goes to prove his guilt.
There's another very important point this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility. The scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Grouse.
Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now! To refuse will put you in contempt of court! So really... There's no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man! Very well then. As a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know. It seems this Japanese gentleman has information that the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night on 31st of October. Present your formal testimony now. As you wish, my lord. I just say, just the sound of his unicorn cane on the gavel, just on its own. It's one of the most, like, uncomfortable sounds I've ever heard in this video game so far. Alright, the Assassin Exchange. It's true that Kazuma Asogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there'd been a shot fired, the crew member would have heard it. So clearly I can't be involved. You think so? So you admit it then? As this communication suggests, there really was an assassin exchange arrangement between Britain and Japan. A political endeavor of the highest levels. Not something I can discuss here.
To you, such a worthy practice is foreign study. To coerce somebody to commit murder? It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard!
Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge. That was my entire job at the end of the day.
Pardon?
Asogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know. What?! Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel?
Kazuma-sama?
Judge Jigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court of the identity of your counterpart in Britain. There you go, I can read. I'm not obliged to divulge that information. As I thought you'd say. As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassination exchange that the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case. The crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk. Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew would have heard it. Or wouldn't have heard it. That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London, in the room of Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Berg van Zeeks. The prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. You think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings? To think. Clearly, it's a plot only a government minister and high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute. Your Lord Chief Justice! That's not like with any ties to the government, surely! God damn it, sir. Well, I seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything. Be that as it may, it is not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassination exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, Counsel? Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. Stifling me, I've got to say. I want to be able to say all I want to say, but I've now got to choose my words carefully. Okay. The drill itinerary, I think, is going to be very important here because on 31st of October, all crew members are required to be on the main deck at 10 PM in order to review evacuation procedures for about 20 minutes. That is plenty of time for an assassination or a murder in the cabin to conceivably take place. I feel like that's going to be the evidence that I need to present to debunk something. But as I always like to do, I like to press everything. Hold it! Hold it! A year ago, when Kazuma was still in Japan then. Correct. It was at the examination center for applicants of the study tour that I approached him. I'll never forget it. I remember exactly what you said. You just came out and asked me forthright if I'd consider traveling to Britain on an assassination mission.
Surely not!
I thought it was a joke at first, of course. But then, it was made clear to me that if I didn't accept, I wouldn't be considered for the study tour. Duh! So you agree to it? Just for that? I mean, I know how much you wanted to study in England, but... assassination? The Empire of Japan had accepted a proposal from the British Empire at the time. An agreement to send a student from each country to the others to deepen cultural understanding and friendship. And also to kill people, but that's beside the point. But behind the scenes, the chosen students were to be given assassination missions. I had no choice but to accept the proposal that originated from my British counterpart.
But why? Why didn't you expose the plot there and then?
He was probably under duress. Or things would happen if they did. Very, very likely. Britain acknowledges no part in these alleged misbegotten dealings. I advise you not to make spurious allegations, Foreign Minister Chikoku. As a witness, I am bound to tell the truth, my lord. Anyway, I picked Asogi and explained the details of the plan to him. There's gonna be a falling out, I think, between these two people if things aren't careful. Chikoku and Strongheart on the judge's bench. There's gonna be a falling out. The target was Gregson. The condition of the British study tour. Hold it! Really now, hold it! Why Kazuma? Why did you pick him as the assassin? He was the most capable of all the applicants, and in addition, he had a big, giant-ass sword. I knew his desire to travel in Britain was very strong. Also, he had a sword. In fact, it was almost more than a desire. It was his whole purpose in life. Also, he had a sword. Yeah, and as his best friend, I can certainly attest to that. The way he threw himself into his studies. The way he pursued becoming qualified as a lawyer. It was all ultimately for that one single goal of being accepted on the study tour of Britain.
And of course, we know the reason behind that.
That's why he had a sword, to assassinate. He has a sword! There's a quote that we like to say around one of our particular very, very good friends of something that a joke that they said in a stream quite a while back. It's just simply the lines of, I have a gun. And now it's just like, I can't go by for a great deal of time without playing that into some point because I love my friend and I love this line of his that he said. So, we're gonna change it up here. Kazuma be like, I have a sword. That's exactly why.
He was determined to find out for himself the truth about his father, Genshin Asogi.
There's nothing I wouldn't have done to get here. Be that agreeing to assume the role of an assassin, or betraying people's trust. Well, you certainly did a fine job of betraying mine, Asogi. Chekhov's gun, but instead, it's Chekhov's sword. But why was Inspector Gregson the target? I would never suspect a foreigner with a sword were behind mysterious murders. Who else carries a sword just like in broad daylight out and about? I mean, concealed for sure, but like, out in broad daylight? Even back in Victorian London times, I would question that. I have no idea. Those were the orders from Britain. I was in no position to question them. You have no idea? Really? I find that hard to believe. Oh, do you?
Josh Shigoku was once a visiting student here in Britain himself, of course. Perhaps he has some connection with Inspector Gregson from that time.
The defense really ought to catch up. With what? With the fact that the assassin exchange has absolutely nothing to do with the case under scrutiny here. Yes, I've already admitted to recruiting Asogi. In the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. Yeah, what? This might be the thing I might be able to, ping him against, but let's see. Hold it! I presume you're referring to the incident that occurred during Cosmo's passage in Britain in January. When he was killed, not killed. I remember that time. Technically, I had a friend who carried a katana from Comic-Con London home in its box to the train back in Birmingham. Yeah, a katana, shall we say. Was it like a foam or a plastic one of some kind that was just like painted in very, very convincing shiny colors or something like that? I imagine that could be the only way you get like something close to that kind of a object in your possession outside of Japan, in all honesty. It was metal and sharp enough to hurt. I mean, not that I ever tried, but definitely not many Japan. Yeah, for sure. You're getting like an actual Japanese sword out of Japan is very, very difficult. I don't think many places offer that kind of service, and then if you do somehow end up with one, it's probably by a very unscrupulous method, shall we say. The awful tragedy that took place on the steamship. Word arrived at the ministry some 2 weeks after the ship's departure from our shores. The visiting student had been killed, but his body had somehow gone missing in Hong Kong. The news was wired to me from a detective I'd placed on the ship to accompany the assassin, that would be Hosonaga. But obviously, Kazuma didn't actually die at all. But he did lose his memory, including all details about his special mission. That were probably reawakened when he saw the waxwork of his dead father's face. Back at episode 3 of this game. Yeah, that certainly reawakens everything. They aren't allowed to sell them anymore. It was a little over 15 years ago. That makes sense in all honesty. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think back, like, Yeah, I don't think I was a Kong goer at that time until about 10 years ago. Around about that time. And then, of course, I have now moved over here. And honestly, I haven't been to a con around here in quite a while. Mostly because getting there and footing for the accommodation and all the tickets, it costs money. It costs a lot of money. I need to be a bit more frugal with that kind of thing. There were so many that I went to like in my early years of living in Japan. And I even thought it further to do like using the changing facilities so I could do some cosplays then. But yeah, that's kind of fallen off the radar now. I don't do that anymore, not really. Still neat. I might do a con visit at some point in the future, I hope so. Maybe another Tokyo Game Show of some kind. Or, I don't know, Comic-Con's not really my cup of tea, really, because I need to be reading more comics for that to be a bit more of a viability. But no, definitely the Tokyo Game Show is like one of the things that will be interesting to me. Or maybe just something smaller and a bit more local. Because I've done this one. Have I done a Tokyo Comic Con? I don't think I've done a... No, I haven't done a Tokyo Comic Con. But I know there's an Osaka Comic Con, which is more accessible to me. I might look into doing that next time it happens. We'll see. Anyway. Did you not consider dispatching another assassin at that point? That wasn't possible. Simply because that black-clad young student over there had already put himself forward as Asogi's replacement. And there was no way to stop him from reaching Britain. Ah! Damn, I didn't like to be on the spot there. My hands were completely tied.
So Mr. Jones's strategy worked perfectly.
He predicted everything that would happen. Months later, my memory returned. I'd never intended to go through with the assassination mission anyway. So you were playing me right from the outset, were you? Is that it? Because Asogi had the only sword. He did! And then I took in possession of it. I'd sooner be guilty of that crime than of taking someone else's life. I was prepared to do whatever I had to in order to get myself here to Britain. Ah! This line of questioning has gone on long enough. Duh. All the court should be concerned about is the testimony given by this witness are details relating to his relationship with Inspector Gregson and the victim's murder. In that case, as I've already made perfectly clear, I had no connection to the man or his death. And you have some means of substantiating this plea? A member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. I think it'll be this that we need to ping him on, but we will get all the flavor text anyway. Hold it! Outside your cabin in the first-class area of the SS Grouse, you mean? Yes, that's right. Not least because there was a murder of a student passenger earlier in the year, I imagine. The liner operators have taken to posting a crewman outside every first-class cabin door. I can confirm the presence of the crewman guard myself. What do you mean? Because I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk at that night. I witnessed it with my own eyes. There was a well-built crewman standing guard directly in front of the door of the witness's cabin. At that particular time, of course, I'd gone to the ship's dining room for dinner. The inspector and I asked the crewman to allow us into the cabin while we wait for Judge Jigoku's return. I suppose Inspector Gregson was there in his capacity as the Reaper. He was intended to take the witness's life. Exactly. As I've said numerous times now, I had no intention of killing anyone. So the crewman let two potential assassins into the cabin he was supposed to be guarding? Not the most convincing of centuries, really. In truth, those were my thoughts too. But anyway, I stayed to talk with Inspector Gregson for a short while. And then, I left him there and made my way off the ship alone. Was the guard still at the door when you went? Yes. He glared at me as I walked past. You see, that proves it. Does it, though? Because I have something to the contrary. If there'd been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it. Clearly, I can't be involved. Really now. Hold it! Hold it! The crewman who was standing directly outside your cabin door, you mean? That's right. A muscular man with a permanent, grim expression on his face. He didn't once move from that spot. To be honest, I thought he was a miserable fellow. But as it happens, he's a vital witness now. There's no doubt that Gregson was killed by a gunshot. And it's inconceivable that a crewman standing just outside the cabin door wouldn't have heard that.
But wait! What about the ship's enormous steam engines? The noise of them could have drowned out the sound of the gun being fired.
I don't think they're that loud on the Citadel. It's a brave theory, but I don't think ship engines are that loud. Sadly, young judicial assistant, that won't wash.
Oh,
You will recall that my cabin was in the first class area of the ship, which is also, of course, the quietest. Don't imagine for a moment that it's anything like steerage where the judicial assistants go.
I didn't mean...
But a hole like that, made by a bullet, was found in your cabin, Yoshigoku. That's compelling evidence that the gun was fired in there. What's that? A bullet hole? Oh yes, you're talking about what the detective uncovered in the wall yesterday, I presume. That was obviously a rotten panel eaten out by a woodworm. No doubt he didn't find an actual bullet. That's the hole in this argument. Sadly, I was unable to arrange for the crewman to be brought back to Britain with me. But, obviously, if a gun had been fired in my cabin on the night in question as the defense implies, I would have been arrested on the spot and would never have made it to Britain in the first place. Very true. The witness's logic is sound. Since no gunshot was heard from the witness's cabin on the night in question, we must assume that the witness is telling the truth. I'm glad you've seen sense, my lord. We're rebuttaling that for sure. I know Cosmo's already admitted to taking on this incredible assassination plot, but even so, hearing it confirmed by somebody else is still a real shock.
Oh, it's unforgivable! Using Cosmo's Sama's feelings to manipulate him into agreeing to such a despicable plan!
But I think Kazuma manipulated Yoshigoku too. He completely double-crossed him.
Oh dear. It's hard not to see that as a stroke of brilliance on Kazuma-sama's part.
One way or another, though, Gregson ended up dead. I really think that the murder must have happened aboard that steamship.
So you mean...
Yoshigoku must be lying.
I know I should have let my emotions cloud my judgment. But you must destroy him, Mr. Naruhodo! Get his ass!
We will get his ass, I think. But when we come back, after a break, it's time to run those right now. So yeah, this is our chance, Twitch people. We're going to have a break to run our ads as per usual. YouTube people, there will be no break. We'll cut it out of our highlights, but do feel free to pause and have a quick break to yourself if you need to. We always like to make sure people are comfortable and enjoying themselves watching these long videos. So if you need to take some time and do that now, before you continue watching the video. And in any case, we'll be back in a few minutes' time. See you in a bit. Alright, it is time to get this guy's butt with his testimony. I'm sure we have a piece of evidence that will do him in on one of his little pieces here. But before I do that, I'm going to welcome everybody back right here. You're trying to do something there. Yeah. We're just having I just had a little bit of a word about the W place thing going on as well. Been using some of my break time as well to have a bit of a go with it myself every now and then. Quite enjoyable, honestly. They've painted up Birmingham red of a V-Expo. Oh goodness, nice one. Assemble a boss off the coast of Vancouver. Ooh, lovely. I'll go check those places out in my own time as well. But yes, welcome back everyone. I hope you had a pleasant break if you took one. YouTube land, there was no break in our highlight, but yeah, welcome back all the same. Let me know if this is an enjoyable video and you're having a good time around here. You know how to do that. Leave a like and comment down below. And if you'd like to go further with your love and support, of course, please subscribe and please hit the bell too. That will be a great old help to us. So, as I said, we need to get this guy on one of his testimonies. And I believe we have the perfect piece of evidence for that. A member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there'd been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it, so clearly it can't be a fault. Yeah, it's one of those two that we need to ping him on. Because honestly, this piece of testimony that we got here, the evacuation drill itinerary, is plenty enough for both of these two bits of testimony. For both of them here, number 4 or number 5. The crewman would have heard it if there had been a shot fired. So clearly I can't be involved. The crewman would have heard it. Would they, though? Because it's conceivable that the shot was fired at the time they were holding their evacuation drill. When they were all outside, not at their posts, on the top deck, doing their business for about 20 minutes, which is a conceivable amount of time to shoot a shot, remove the body from the place, stash it into a fridge of some kind on board the ship, and be done with it in 20 minutes. That's entirely feasible. So is it this we need to ping them on? If it's not this, then it's probably going to be number 4, but we'll try number 5 first.
Objection!
First try, let's go. Objection! Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Jigoku's cabin. However, we can be sure that contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times. What? I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st. Whoa! Where did you get that? It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember. Herlock Sholmes again? Yep, that squirrely man is everywhere. Or should I say cat-like person is everywhere, because he does behave like a cat in some places, like where I've seen him hanging on the wall, or all fours on the desk or something like a cat would do. I think it's more cat. I think it's more like a cat, really. But anyway, according to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Grouse were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill. All crewmen were away from their posts. And during that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime. Ha! We're getting his ass, like I said. Objection. A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Yunosuke. Back of my ear needs some scritches because it's itchy back there for some reason. But it amounts to nothing. But why? Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin. How can you say that? I mean, to be fair, he could probably say that because, yeah, we don't have evidence of the hole in the wall being very obviously bullet hole shaped. So yeah. I guess I can say that pretty freely, unless we're able to get evidence of the hole in the wall of some kind. But I don't know if or when that's happening. Anyway, you get away with it now. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony to be false. Your accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel. Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin that night. I'm certain of it. Because the defense has the evidence to prove it. You will present the evidence for the defense at once, counsel. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Jigoku's cabin on the 31st of October? So since we don't have evidence of any bullet holes going on there, what we do have, however, is a plain piece of evidence that will tie Gregson to being in the room at the time. This is pocket watch that is missing the winder on top of here to be able to wind the clock with. It's missing the crown components here, which would tie him to being there, and it was found in Jigoku's cabin. We will confidence save to be sure, but I believe that is what we need to put forward here. Because it at least proves the victim was in the room. So here we go. Take that! Take that! Judge Jigoku, This was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch? A pocket watch? Yes, indeed. And if you will observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we know he treasured, is missing precisely that part. It can't be. Oh, but it can, mister. You're in an Ace Attorney game, anything can happen. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. I don't think we ever, like, properly... Oh, no, we did. We did examine the... What is it? We didn't do it for Karma, though, but, maybe soon that will happen. Jeez. No way. Bloody pop-ups and such. Is now a good time to examine this? Not unless it becomes pertinent later. Anyway, let's carry on. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill. In the cabin occupied by you, Judge Jigoku! I'm gonna say, because this is clearly not gonna be the end of it. Now I'm gonna try and foresee why we could, how that could be, rebutted. Because if we go back to the state of the pocket watch quickly, it says 5 o'clock on it. It says 5 o'clock. And the evacuation notice, the drill notice was at 10 PM this was to happen. So unless he did forget to wind his clock, and it stopped at 5, unless that means... Oh, but then they can argue, like, does it mean 5 PM or 5 AM that it stopped? Like, does he wake up at the crack of dawn to wind the clock at, like, 5 AM every time? Or something like that? That's all very possible, but... Something along those lines is how I think people are going to then rebut this, but we will see what the game has in store for us. Meanwhile, I think Jigoku is about to break the bench. Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you? You young murderer! Well, that's just low blow, isn't it? You young murderer, like, for breaking him down in one of his testimonies. Now he's like, yeah, you actually did the murder, didn't you, you sly so-and-so? You did the murder of that, professor a long time ago. That case a year ago now. It was certainly you, wasn't it? He's so underhanded that way, Jesus. Anyway. Objection. Expertly maneuvered, Yunosuke. Huh? And your argument sounds entirely plausible. At first. But rather like this pocket watch, it's full of cracks. They are gonna ping me on the fact that it says 5 o'clock on it rather than 10 o'clock. They're gonna ping me on that, aren't they? What? And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way. I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year. Sorry? Way to hold a grudge there, Jesus! If I'd known that it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast. Huh? You're holding a grudge right now? Did you just do that, honestly? I think it's clear. The witness will have to give further testimony. When you hear what actually happened in my cabin that night, you'll notice the pitfall into which you've stumbled. Well, I know. Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume. Yes, I do. Very well, then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard a ship of the evening on the evening of 31st of October. Of course. As a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice. Allegedly. That's all I have a word to that. Allegedly. Alright. Testimony number dos. The events in the cabin. I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with an Ippon Seoi throw, though. He couldn't wait to run away after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with this murder. The inspector was clearly killed, having returned to Britain, because his body was found in London. Ippon Seoi? A common jujutsu martial arts technique in my country that we did see, I think we actually saw demonstrated, like, very early on that reporter person that we convicted in the first case of the game. It's like, he's still trying to, like, it was there in the antechamber, still trying to, like, make play of, like, there's a big conspiracy behind this, and then Seishiro comes out, like, shut up, and then throws him over his shoulder. That was probably his Ippon Seoi technique. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take. So, Yunosuke Naruhodo, I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin in no way proves that the victim's murder took place there. Ah! I have no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger. Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense as far as I can tell. Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord. But if this testimony holds, Judge Jigoku will be deemed to have no involvement in the case. By God, we don't want that. Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on the cross-examination. Ow. Sorry, my lord. The defense has a right to cross-examine, and I don't intend to squander that. You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beaten. In that case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe the judge is now just absolutely U-turning his opinions on me here. First it was like, ooh, look at this. A turn up for the books, you're here. You're making a big name for yourself. Wow, this is great. And now we're suddenly like, you're an embarrassment to our entire nation. How could you do this to me? Because you have affronted me, you have done these things against me, you're an embarrassment to all the Japanese! Like, wow, way to course correct there, sir. I don't know. I guess waiting for me when I return to my cabin... You know what we do, we like to get all the flavor text. Hold it! Hold it! Because the so-called guard posted at your cabin door had just let you kill a pass, you mean? Apparently, Gregson told the crewman he was a police inspector, which was the truth, of course. He wouldn't have had his identification with him, though. He had his trench coat and the mustache, not to mention the bag of chips. I imagine the crewman was convinced. Is that... That's what you use instead of your, actual badge, isn't it? Oh, that's what he thought he could get away with. You know me, as the man with the bag of chips, that must mean I am Inspector Gregson, because I am known for always having a bag of chips on me. And it's like, this is my new identification. Here, you can have one if you want. I like to imagine that now. In lieu of his ID, he's like, have a chip. But the man accompanying him would have had two swords. Would have had two swords slung around his waist. Yeah, that's a plural. You missed out on that being a plural, unless it's either one sword or two swords. The man accompanying him would have had two swords slung around his waist. Were you two? He definitely would have had Karuma. Maybe he also had like the sword that he would have under by being a under Van Zieks' tutelage at the time, maybe as well. I see that happening, yeah. So it should be two swords. You mean me? Who else? Yes, that's true. You would have hoped for the sight of a few swords might have set off alarm bells in the guard's head. The point is, I left the cabin before its occupant returned, and I immediately disembarked the ship. Certainly. All I can tell you is that only the inspector was waiting for me when I arrived back at my cabin. And you entered without any inkling of suspicion? That's right. None whatsoever. Foolishly waving a gun. Hold it! What, why would that be like, oh, I have a gun, I do? Like, just literally like that. Woo woo, look at me, I have a gun, I do, yay! Would it actually have been like that? I don't know. Hold it! But obviously, you're talking about Inspector Gregson? Yes. Though at the time, I didn't know the man's name. And there was no time for introductions. I value my life over manners. By which you mean that the inspector was there to assassinate you, I suppose? That was certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction. But I've never seen the muzzle of a revolver shake about so much in all my life. Anyone would think the man had never shot somebody before. Believe it or not, most of us haven't. Anyway, there was no time to call for the help of the crewman at the door, so I dealt with the man myself. He did his Ippon Seoi on him. Hold it! Hold it! Even though the man had a gun? That was a very brave move, wasn't it? Ha 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 ha! My Ippon Seoi is far faster than the bullet, I can assure you. But surely all that commotion caused the crewman to come in, didn't it? Yes, of course. He burst in immediately without knocking. The inspector hurled himself at a stocky fellow and just managed to slip past him to make his escape. The outstanding guard does it again. Luckily, there aren't many situations I can get out of using, or I can't get out of using a quick Ippon Seoi throw. His watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. Nothing to do with the murder. Unless somehow the throw, like the throw was enough to like do in the vertebrae or something that he didn't realize until after he like left or something. That's stretching it. That's stretching it honestly, but we'll see. Hold it! Hold it! The crown snapped off and the glass covering the face of the watch was cracked. Preferable to the man's head being pulled off or his spine cracking, wouldn't you say? Not that the man was spared for long. A bullet to the chest soon saw to that. Oh, from outside! There's a thought that just came to my head. But the point is, the broken pocket watch doesn't prove that the murder took place. Absolutely not. All the watch proves is the power of my jujutsu throw. Whatever you say, it doesn't quite ring true that no shot was fired in that cabin. Because there was an obvious bullet hole in the wall. Ah ha 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 ha! What are you talking about? That's what the star of your lowbrow detective stories told you, is it? Well, I don't care for such fiction. Ah! Haven't you worked it out yet, you little stripling? No murder took place in my cabin. was muscularly killed, having returned to Britain. His body was found in London. Hold it! Hold it! But there's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive. Just take a moment to think that idea of yours through now, stripling. What? If the inspector was killed on the steamship in France, how on earth could he have got back to Britain? When people die, their bodies remain at that same spot. It's a devil of a thing, really. People dying when they are killed. Well, then obviously the culprit must have moved the body. Oh, exactly. Carrying a corpse off a ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think? Oh, well, yeah, that's true, but all passenger luggage is inspected when it is unloaded from arriving vessels. And I would like to think the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage. If the murder had taken place aboard the ship, you would imagine the body would have been disposed of at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain. Well, let's kill that idea then.
But perhaps not.
Miss Susato, please give me a lifeline, throw me a bone. So yes, back in. Okay.
We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them. Which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body in the sea.
Yeah, that's true. So transporting the body in Britain might have been the only viable alternative. Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? Huh? I thought I'd been perfectly clear, but it seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I think I ought to alter my testimony, with your consent, of course, my lord. I have no objection. State your amended testimony now. Something tells me you all shouldn't have done that. There's no possible way I could have transported the victim's corpse back to Britain. If you could have fitted in the trunk. No. I'm thinking that. Ignore me, this is a stupid line of questioning. Ignore me. I don't know. Maybe something comes out of this if I press this new statement. Hold it! Hold it! Here's an idea. Think about it, stripling. All passengers and crew disembarked at the same time and passed through the same checks at the border. The symposium guests were then driven straight to the hotel in carriages organized by the ministry.
And we met you as soon as you'd arrived at the hotel.
So you did. Well then, remind me, did I have a corpse over my shoulder at the time? What? No. So, we're in agreement then. I couldn't possibly have brought the inspector's body back to Britain. Unless, of course, they've developed some clever device these days to instantly move things from A to B. Huh. Funny you should say that.
Well, Professor Harebrain's invention didn't actually work, if you remember, Mr. Naruhodo.
I was going to say, that's a good callback. Yeah, of course. The event has become unusually quiet, I notice. Yes, because there's really nothing more to say. As you think. So, that's his story.
Well, I suppose if you think about it, whenever you drop a teacup in the office and it breaks, we don't say, Mr. Naruhodo must have been murdered there, do we? There's not a
veiled threat about what might happen to me if I break another one.
And the fact is that Inspector Gregson's body was found in a little room on Fresno Street. If he really was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin,
the body would have to have been moved somehow, obviously. Transporting a dead body over a country border, that would be impossible for the majority of people. So there must have been some special circumstances that made it possible for the culprit then.
That could be a vital realization, I think, Miss Naruhodo.
And she can telepathically tell that I made a revelation there, definitely. So, this new piece here, I could have there's no possible way I could have moved the victim's corpse back to Britain, but do I have an evidence to, tally-ho that, shall I say? It is staying there, but this is not big. That trunk is not big enough for a body. So my original line of question is like, yeah, no. So we know where we found that. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. That is a massive old case. And it is conveniently next to your rather dapper personage, I will say. But that is a hulking old carry-all there. That is massive. So is it really this piece that I've got to debunk this with? Sometimes I will use the tokens of goodwill that you're like, let's do this because, oh boy, it'll be fun, and it totally won't bite me in the backside later as a piece of evidence. It's gotta be this, hasn't it? It would mean that Gregson's body was in there all this time. His dead body is technically part of the photograph here. Goodness me. Because that's certainly way bigger to have somebody like curled and hunched in. And yeah, he probably took a leave to like pop it off somewhere, and he must have caught wind of the Fresno Street location and did it there. Go on then.
Objection!
Objection! There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? I would say the opposite is true. There are 5 people in the photo. Try and find out where the 5th person is. Isn't it right, Astro Dude? Isn't that absolutely right? Because yeah, the size of it is. Yeah, you can conceivably curl up a body in like a hunched way, as would then that would then make it pretty. Would lend weight as to why the body was found in such a way, because it would have been curled up in a curled up in a sort of a ball to fit in a suitcase, and when that suitcase was probably rather hastily emptied out, that's how his body must have fallen out. Oh god, he really was buried deep in the case, wasn't he? Ooh, you're not wrong. You're right. Doesn't mean you should say it though. Jesus Christ. Oh boy. So I would say the opposite is true. And what's that supposed to mean? Far from being impossible for you to do. The transport of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Yunosuke? As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister for Foreign Affairs. Which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. Special exemptions didn't consider that either. Wow. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. Duh. Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot of time. I must say, I'm very evidence of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Ah, I knew you were jealous. Ha 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 ha! There's a body in my suitcase. I presume you recall this, Judge Jigoku? It's a photograph we took in the foyer of the hotel to mark the occasion. As the court will note, you have with you your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside.
Mr. Naruhodo! Surely, you're not suggesting I was within 2 meters of a dead body? Oh no!
I'm afraid I am, yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting instantly with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel, the body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us, inside Judge Jigoku's trunk. Ah! Order! Order! Order in court! Yeah, you don't go order like the previous judge did. You're just straight to the point, aren't you? I'm skeptical, counsel, that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. It could. Because if Jigoku can manage it, freaking anybody can in this one. Because you see the size of Jigoku here? Not entirely obvious from this one. But anyway. We can probably get it from that thing we say. Like I said, look at him! He's giant! That is a 6 foot something man. If a 6 plus man is capable of doing that in the trunk that we found when we were playing as Mikotober and Sholmes, if a 6 foot something man can do it, I would say somebody of Gregson's stature back then would have been able to do it too. If Jigoku can do it, anybody can do it in this game, because I think Jigoku's the largest person in this entire thing. Maybe, or at least relevant here right now, the largest person. So yeah. It could. Because I happen to know that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his own trunk. And verifying that would be extremely simple. Wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku? Ah!
But inside his trunk? How horrifying!
And after we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, you had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street, taking your trunk with you in a cab to deposit the inspector's body. I don't have to listen to this nonsense! Oh, but boy howdy, I think you ought to.
Bonsai! Yeah!
The Bird Bunch is here to show us some love. Oh my goodness, I appreciate it. Let me just read this line first, just in case it skips forward when I exit out the window here. Dr. Gory, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. Oh my god, it didn't. Yay! Alright. Just gonna be nice to my new raider friend here, Mr. Bergtime Gaming.
Long time no see, buddy!
I sincerely hope you were having a great time with Horror Night with Tung 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 Sahur. I mean, Tung 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 Sahur sounds interesting, but Horror Night maybe not so, but I sincerely hope you had a great time with it. And welcome to all the raiders joining in with Bergtime today. If this is your first time here, hello! My name is Laura Petal. I do myself these streams here. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays are my usual regular times here. I play variety of stuff around here, which is a variety. Lovely laid-back channel here. We like to give people a nice place to hang out and chill out. I like my platformers, adventure games. I like RPG games nowadays as well. We're currently doing Great Ace Attorney 2, as you can see here, and it's quite late game in Great Ace Attorney 2, specifically. If you're not looking for spoilers, then I assume you're already taking measures to probably step away from that one, but just in case, we are very late into the game, but do stick around if you'd like to. We are currently doing a, what I like to call our big Ace Attorney chronology. I am going to be doing every single Ace Attorney game mainline in-game timeline order. So, right after this one is finished, hopefully I can get moving on to Ace Attorney 1, like the very, very first one that came out, as part of the Ace Attorney original trilogy collection on the Steam, as we do there. So, yeah! This is one of our big projects for the foreseeable, and I'm very much enjoying it. If that's your cup of tea, come along and stick around for the ride, but of course, very, very late game spoilers here, just so you know. But yeah, thank you for coming in. Like I said, I hope your stream went well back time. How are you? I've been doing good. I hope you've been doing good too. And yeah, if you are free to stick around and do what you like to, if you need to take some time to sit back, relax, or do some post-stream care, and if that includes you having to bob away for a moment, we don't blame you for that one. You've probably also had a long stream yourself, so do what you need to do to take care of yourself post-stream. But if you can stick around for a little bit, we would obviously love to have you here. And yeah, if what you see around here is your cup of tea as well, if it's your first time here, you can consider hitting the follow button if you haven't done so already. You can keep on track with my streams if what you see around here is your cup of tea as well. But thank you for coming along for this raid, everyone. I appreciate you so much. Alona says, we're in some heavy lore near the end of the game right now. Just want to clarify in case someone is worried about it. Yes, exactly, yeah. So, if you're looking at this game, if you're looking at doing this game yourself, then of course, be aware of all the spoiler materials. But, yeah, if you're not bothered by him, or if you've seen everything here, obviously we are doing a non-backseating play through at first, of course, so hold off on the guessing games or trying to help out the streamer unless I explicitly say that I am stuck and need some help, because I will try and do it. I will try and figure things out myself, and I've largely done that. But of course, I will say explicitly if I would like help from the chat. So until I do so, no backseating, spoiler freeze, of course, in the chats. But yeah, we're quite deep into the game anyway. So if you're a viewer and don't want the spoilers, so obviously take care on that one. But of course, do stick around if you can. We'd love to have you here, and I hope we give you a great time. I hope we improve your day being in the stream here. So anyway, let's get back to it. Into the game window. There we go. So anyway, Dr. Gory, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. She has acknowledged that there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator. Counsel, as I remembered explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite size are few and far between. Oh, but steamship though? As I say, but steamship though? Steamship could have one? Yes, I'm sure they are. But one place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages. And the SS Grouse is no exception. Professor Mikotoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Shikoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer. Well, this is all very heartening. Huh? I can see that it was a wise move letting Asogi and you embark on this study tour. What are you talking about now? Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. And I can see that you've both laid firm foundations for that already.
Judge Shikoku, please! Stop diverting attention from the issue at hand! The defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond?
Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there?
And why ever not?
Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. The actual scene of the crime. The prosecution's stance is unaltered. The killing took place on Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard. As the accused, Barrett Van Zeeks shot the victim at point-blank range. Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale. I'm afraid that's how the logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling. God, let's go Crash, have a super time. Yes, of course, buddy. You go and do that post-stream care. If that involves just taking a nap or taking a bit of a break, getting some food down, yeah, get a drink, stretch, medication if you need to. Please make sure you go and do that, mate. I appreciate you sending the raid over, absolutely. Nice to see you. Good to see you doing well. And yeah, until later, I suppose. Toodaloo for now. The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly? I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim that's the only fairy tale here. How can you say that? Quite simply, because that claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession. Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you had better explain yourself to the court, don't you? The prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim. Is it as it says? Original autopsy report. Evidence suggests measures may have been taken to disguise the time of death. Is it literally just not in the autopsy report itself? Like we have it on standby? Or is there something else that I have been missing out on here? I mean, they use this as a... I mean, they use the candelabrum here as a bit of a sort of like a timer mechanism. Interestingly enough, but I don't know. I like to think that it's just because we have it written down by coroner that time of death is not possible to determine. I don't know if I'm right here, but it seems like the most logical thing to do. We literally have it here. Coroner can take that. Coroner can literally say that it's not. The Japanese really are a curious breed. To proffer an argument with such conviction, only to present such nonsensical evidence. Perhaps my Japanese friend's inexplicable thinking is why people talk of the mystique of the East. In case you hadn't noticed, I'm not the only Japanese around here. Do you even have a mirror? The court is not interested in the mystique of anything. You will be penalized accordingly. Damn it. Well, that's the reason why I confidence saved. Spare me a moment. I'm allowed to, for God's sakes. Right, so yeah, we can't just say that by the autopsy report because, of course... Because, of course, you were told by, I think it was Strongheart, actually, to not write anything in there, at just outright. But then you hastily penned in that it's indeterminate, and you can't, say that with that. No. Let's see if there's any... I don't know if the body has anything. check the steamship stuff there, but I don't believe so. Yeah, this is the one that we've got to disprove. Evidence to point where it was done. So is there now something on the gun that is it? Well, I can tell there's nothing like that. Which tells us what, sorry? Which tells us that it must have been issued longer ago than that. Right. I wonder why we haven't seen to this yet. The glass over the face really is badly cracked, look.
What a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully.
I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you?
Yes, I should think so.
He's very adept at things like this. He is one man to have around, in fact.
Oh, but kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruto. Not an odd-job man.
Right, that claim is nothing. That's where the crown would go, which I do not believe that makes it relevant to this. Is there something in the trunk that I have missed? Let's try and look again, just in case. The only thing about it is the passport in there, which we have already seen, and there's nothing else inside that is observable. So yeah. What have we got to disprove again? We have to disprove. Disprove that the killing took place on Fresno Street. That's what we've got to disprove. Flame red wig found at that. Be that? I mean, we could always try and just play the process of elimination game here until we find the right piece of evidence for it, but I wonder if there's something about the fact that he was in this and there's nothing else on the wig, on the headpiece to like, was he preparing to go for a meeting in that place? So while stabbing the dog, but I don't believe this. I don't believe it's gonna be this.
Take that!
While stabbing the dog? No. I thought so. While stabbing the dog. Bam 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 bam. Went there without his ID card. Another while stabbing the dark here, but
take that!
Let's see. No. No, don't sit there. Don't sit there. What am I doing? Flabba-dabba-dab, that's what I meant to do. There we go. Right, it's not that instead. traveling case that was removed from the scene, but stuff is going to recovered. It's it's just literally this is about it? You removed it and then found it somewhere else. Is it literally just the fact that this is there?
Take that!
Nope. Okay, bear with. We'll process of elimination this somehow. To do with that at all. Is it back to the photo? Because we conceivably know that it would be big enough for the body to be there. Sure it says save. I'm gonna really think about this. Right. Got back out of this because this is where I need to make a decision. Right, I'm gonna think about this actually. Sorry I'm wasting all this time at this point, but this is a difficult question. I'll have a think about it while I am having my break time here. We'll run our ads as usual for Twitch people, so this is your perfect chance to get up and do some taking care of things as you need to. If you're watching this in YouTube land, of course, there is no break coming up because we cut it out of the highlights, but feel free to take a pause every now and then if you need to go and take care of some business and make sure that you're comfortable while enjoying this very long video, because it is long at the end of the day. Please make sure you're taking care of yourself as you're watching and enjoying this, hopefully. But yeah, for people in this live stream, we're going to have our next break, so I will see you back here in a few minutes. So as you come back to join us here, we still need to figure out what it is that we need to contradict the claim that there was instantaneous death as a result of it happening at Fresno, but we need to actually figure out why we can, what we can use to possibly debunk that and give ourselves a leg in the case. But let me just welcome back people in Twitch land and YouTube land as well. If you're in YouTube land watching this in our highlight afterwards, hope you're still having a great time watching us here and watching me stumble through all of this. If you are enjoying it, do let me know. Leave a like and comment down below. Want to go further with your love and support, of course, you can always subscribe and hit the bell too if you want to get more videos like this pushed to you in the future. Right. You'd better explain yourself. A piece that... He was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly. Let's establish where it happened is quite logical. The accused shoots him at point-blank range. That's how logical reasoning works. Was he shot and died instantly? That's the claim, but we can contradict that with a piece of evidence in our way here. Try to have a look here as well. I mean, would this tangibly be? Could this be a way that you end up keeling over if you were, God forbid, shot and then carked it immediately? Would you end up in such a way? Because we have our theory that it was taken from a big old hold-all suitcase and dumped in this way. And that would probably be a better way to explain why he has ended up in this hunched, curled up in a ball position. Would you actually be able to do it in such a way to, end up this way if you were, like, as I said, God forbid, shot and carked it instantly after that? Would you end up in this way? Maybe the actual body has a piece that we're not fully of yet. That's why we can't conceivably say that this is where he was done in. Having to think about it.
Take that!
That is it, apparently. Because, yeah, probably because the body has something that we need to actually get a look in and see. Something about this is a bit too perfect for all of this. Really? A photograph of the victim in the very location you claim he wasn't killed? Yes! But the point is the posture of the body itself. Huh. If Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room, it's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in the ball like that. So it was to do with that there. Like our claim is that he was dumped in there, and that's why he was curled up in there, because it was thrown out of a big holdall. A big holdall suitcase. So yeah, the entire fact that his body was found in such a way is the contradiction that we needed there. Okay, I see that now. Objection! I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. He could easily have adopted that fetal position due to the pain of the shot, which subsequently proved fatal. But you said instantaneous. You said instantaneous, like he cocked it immediately after receiving the wound. Would he really have had time to conceivably feel that pain before keeling over? That entirely, like, contradicts yourself there. And the prosecution, like, dying instantly. But you then said he could have felt the pain. But that's you contradicting yourself. Come on. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Chichigoku, but it's your logic that is flawed. What? According to this autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less have been able to draw himself into that position. Oh! Yep, you played yourself, dear fellow. Which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Though the answer should be abundantly clear by now. You're suggesting... See, I made the sound this time by slapping my hands on the desk, absolutely. The inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival on Fresno Street, before it was coldly turned out on the floor from the inside of a large travel trunk. No!
You're quite right. The shape of the body. It looks exactly as if it's been kept in a confined space.
Yep. And even firmer, I'm gonna continue to hit my desk in affirmation. Joshigoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible that it will contain traces of the victim's blood. Ah! Ah! Present my trunk. I refuse. What? On what grounds? That you're a big fibby, and we will find the blood in there? I'm the Minister for Foreign Affairs in the Empire of Japan. This is not Japan, though. I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling's baseless accusations.
In other words, Joshidoku, there is blood in your trunk.
I decline to answer that. As the Minister for Foreign Affairs, I have privileges that are... Objection! At this moment, you're not a government minister. You are a witness in the trial in Britain's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status outside this courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. I was gonna say when somebody was gonna make the joke there, present his trunk. Oh ho ho, ayo. I mean, the size of the man would imply that he has quite a lot of junk in the trunk, you know. I won't deny that, sure, but yeah. Nothing is more important than the truth. These very manly shouts. Order! Order in court! Well, Mr. Jigoku, what's it to be? You can't be serious! You did it?! Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Asogi? What?! Very well. I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk. Exactly as postulated by the defense. What? You! Dear God, outrageous! So it was you who is the inspector... No! Wait, what did I say beforehand? So it was you! You admit to Inspector Gregson's... No! I admit to nothing more than what I've said. Ah! Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection. What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean? I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, I decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else. You can't still deny it! If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man? As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he'd already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life.
Oh!
That's right. Who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Asogi. You... This is just turning into a game of vicious death slamming here. This is what's happening. I never thought you'd stoop to this, Seishiro Jigoku. You've taken the words straight out of my mouth, Prosecutor Kazuma Asogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you? Well, the prosecution's counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question. Yes, on an assassination mission, no less. You wouldn't! So, what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll admit to nothing more.
I don't believe this.
Counsel for the defense. What is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asogi. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer's right there in front of me. It comes down to Jigoku or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson, and only one of them did it. I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well. The defense is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by Judge Jigoku. The idea that the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Asogi is... Which way, Mr. Defense Man? Wait, was he there? And was he there? And he did say he was there, and he saw him, but then he disembarked and got off the ship not long after. someone other than Kazuma could have handled that blade at the time? I'm gonna pin it on being impossible. Which I think was right. Yes. Let's see why then. Judge Jigoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. You claimed that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process. It is, no question. Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asogi to commit the crime. What? Ugh. Here comes the good beat. The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that allegedly demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Asogi's involvement?
Take that!
I want to say, does it come back to this? Oh, was I a bit too hard to go there? You're making the evidence sweep here, Yunosuke Naruhodo. Sorry? Every piece of evidence has a role to play in arriving at the truth. They're not playthings you can toss around the courtroom for entertainment. Ah! Well, I didn't save that.
Never mind the evidence. You were about to make me weep, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh no, I kind of Sepsis-san are a little bit upset too. We know a member of the crew was on sentry duty outside his first-class cabin nearly all the time. So as long as the guard was there, it would have been impossible to fire a shot without it being heard. And that very much narrows down when the crime could have been committed. Let's say, should I just take the hit here? Does it come back? It comes back to this, doesn't it? Right? Yeah, I'll take the accidental hit there, surely. That'll be fine. The inversion of the music stopping when you're wrong. I mean, right? Yeah. A member of the crew was on sentry duty outside the cabins nearly all the time. As long as the guard was there, it would have been impossible to fire a shot without it being heard. This very much narrows down when the crime could have been committed. And if Asogi only was there for a limited period of time and then stepped off, yeah, it's back to this.
Take that!
Let's make sure. Yeah, that's it. So take that! This itinerary of crew members of the SS Grouse, my lord. This is conclusive proof. An itinerary? How does that prove anything? Judge Jigoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant. What? Why? On the night in question, as always, a crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. So that tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. And that narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock as indicated on the itinerary. Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far. But the crucial point is this. When the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Which is when Kazuma disembarked and thus could... Yeah, because if it was out at sea, impossible to disembark, so yeah, this must have happened all before. Yeah, Kazuma was off before this time, so that's impossible for him to be there at that time. Aha, we got it. Yeah. Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by somebody who was aboard the vessel at the time. Prosecutor Asogi stated in yesterday's proceedings
didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent the night at the boarding house in the town, and returned to England on the following morning.
There it was. Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Asogi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing. Ah! But hold it! No! Absolutely not! I don't accept that at all! Because it's not, because it doesn't help you out, does it? Evidence don't care about your precious feelings. What do you mean? The boy is just saying that to exonerate himself. We can't trust that he really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship. Just waiting for his chance to come back and objection. No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night at a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify and undeniable proof. Ah! No! There's no escape this time. You can forget that you're a judge of a government... You can forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer as a common man. Absolutely well-fitting music at that point. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if the murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it, Seishiro Jigoku? It was that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Oh, he's gonna break it again. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already. Ah! It's over! My life is over! Yeah, you're gonna pay for that? Jesus Christ. British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassination exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Why are there monks walking into the courtroom? Oh goodness. Right. Though it was hardly a request. It was a demand. He used to be Minister for Foreign Affairs. He can't afford it. Why are there monks walking into the courtroom? What if they started singing? Jesus. Oh, I love this. And for that, you decided to recruit Mr. Asogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain. And you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement. Because I was already on my way to Britain at that time in Kazuma's place. And that left me with one only other option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself. Personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that. The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume? That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain. So, I enlisted the help of my British counterpart. It made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper. What?! The Reaper? But there's only one person who could have done that! The mastermind of the entire operation! The Reaper himself! Ah!
So, that means that the assassin exchange was... It was all planned by the Reaper!
I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the Inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship. But it was all a trap designed to lead him to France and his own death.
How awful!
It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time, waiting. For the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock! I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came round and went for me in a reckless move.
And bang.
I'd received the British issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student.
So this gun belonged to Jigoku. Oh goodness, okay. If it didn't have a serial number on then that puts... Yeah, that links this to this. Okay, that's Jigoku's gun. So we can say, he had a gun. There we go.
I never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that.
So the revolver belongs to you, does it? That is a resignation to say, damn it, yes it is. Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Grouse. Which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room on Fresno Street.
The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take the body up on deck to throw it over the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. So before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room. And then, on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London.
Kazuma had a sword, and Jigoku had a gun. That's right, that's right.
In that case, you must have known. You must have had intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule. Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take it back to his police his police identification.
Oh! Hugh Boone being actually Daily Vigil. Actually being this man here. That would have been him. You know what they say about bringing swords to a gunfight? Don't. There's a song by Six Puppies that actually has that as a lyric from the album Connect. In the song called, I think it's just called Gunfight. The line is literally, don't bring a knife to a gunfight, you'll lose. Just literally like that. Along with like little various anecdotes of like, oh, what was the first one? Like the verses include like various like anecdotes about like how the only reason it was won is because the opposing party had bigger, more convincing means of taking what they want. For example, the first line of the first stanza is, "Here's a little story how the West was won. The white man came, took out everyone. They used dirty blankets, they used machine guns, they didn't think twice about what they'd done." There's also another one really about Kevin Bacon of all the people, like for a case he like tried to get a bunch of money back, but the judge was like, nah, I've got the powers, you get out of here with that one. Also a very prominent story about the congressmen bailing out all their friends and being like, well... yeah. And the final stanza, we will not mention here because it's a very touchy subject. That is... just look it up yourself. The song Gunfight by Sick Puppies. You'll understand what I mean when I'm not mentioning that final stanza. Bernie made off with Kevin's money. That's right. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like I said, I'm not talking about this final stanza because it is a very charged subject that, depends on if it's heard by the wrong people. Yeah, that's why I'm not mentioning it. But I decided that man would be the perfect person to set up as a culprit. So I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk. That must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel then. Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers. Miss Venus, of course. I conceived of the candle trick there and then, so I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate a gunshot. What sort of disguise? For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case. So I put that on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself than I would have otherwise.
The hairpiece we found at the scene. The inspector had it ready for the Red-Headed League investigation.
I only arrived at the room at around 5:15, so I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later. So, that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into a trap. Except, at the last moment, I made a careless blunder. What was that?
I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips.
Ah! I didn't notice it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but... well... it seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. The fish and chips come back to save the day, everyone! That's why fish and chips are glorious. And that is why I miss them and I want to eat some right now. Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did. Yeah, you're still gonna replace the bench, I'll have you know. I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty. Have we seen Raiders of the Lost Ark? Oh, I know what scene you're talking about in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Apparently, I don't know where I last read this, but apparently, like, information about that scene was kind of entirely just like out. I don't know if it was just like a sense of like just ad-libbing the thing or just something like that. But apparently, I don't think the man who was like whipping the swords about in that scene was not I don't think it was entirely happy about the fact that it just ended the way it did in the film. Like supposedly there were several other takes of how that went down. Like I think some of them actually involved them, actually like Harrison Ford and the stuntman actually having that fight. But then one of the scenes was just Harrison just pulls out the gun, and pulls the trigger. And apparently the man was so taken aback by that, it was like, whoa, what was that for? And that's why he fell back. And then the scene just like played out as it was like that. I might have the details, I might not have the full details correct there, but apparently that's the entire reason why Mr. Stuntman, who was flinging about the swords everywhere, was just like, man, why did they use that scene? That wasn't the best one. But I mean, it turned out to be quite one of the funniest things in that entire film. Just, he puts on all the show of display with his sword, with his, what is it, scimitars or whatever he had on his thing, or the special... I keep saying this, but I keep forgetting what the kind of the weapons they are. Whatever weapons he had on board, like flailing about, like, yes, I have these. I am very trained with these weapons, and I will take you down with them. Come on and challenge me. And then all he does is, and then all Harrison Ford does is just... And he was so taken aback, like, oh, Jesus! I didn't expect this, and then fell right back down, and, that was the take that was used in the film. So I'm like, well then. But apparently that was part of, like, a few other takes where they actually played out a fight between them or stuff, or things like that. But the one that they ended up using in the final cut... Honestly, it lives on it. Honestly, it's a very famous moment of the film now. So yeah. That's why you don't bring your thoughts to a gunfight. That's why when that's why when your opponent decides to be like, yo, I've got this, stop this. And the only thing you've got to stop that with is swords. Unless you have Jedi reflexes, that's just not happening for you, is it? Anyway, back to this. We are playing a game currently. Yes.
An exchange of assassins? What a foolhardy idea.
Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? Nothing you say now can make matters any worse for you. Just tell us! Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say! Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. Nothing to lose right now. If he's going to be tried and done in with the harshest penalty imaginable, you know, at this point in time, in the time periods, being, you know, yeah, capital punishment. What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? Oh, he's probably fully expecting, like, why don't you do this the Japanese way? Come on, give me the sword. I'm gonna do ritual Sudoku right now. It's finished. All of it! I'm finished. Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson. And the flames say guilty as charged. Seishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found guilty! And may I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court. But that's not the end of the tale, is it? Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession, admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt.
Oh, wonderful! Well done, Mr. Naruhodo!
Yeah, thank you.
Is something wrong?
I'm just a little troubled by his silence. The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey and this extraordinary assassin exchange, we do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion. I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries as a prosecutor. As you wish. Now, for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant, Barak van Zieks.
Objection!
Objection! Ah! The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred. Counsel? The accused's innocence hasn't been fully established at all. And therefore, it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position. What?
But Judge Shigoku has already confessed!
Nevertheless, Barak van Zieks has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Well, it would appear that you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness's testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot. Into this sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but... So what I want to know is, who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly, that would appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Barak van Zieks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey. And furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What? It's not over. Order! 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 The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Are you suggesting you have some new information with which to build a case?
Scotland Yard is already investigating Lord Van Zieks very thoroughly in that regard. And they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper.
Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed. What do you mean? It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself. Which means, we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention here. I must say I'm surprised by quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zieks. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes. That explains Cosmo's silence before. He'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zieks unwittingly started 10 years ago. So... Very well. Whilst it's extremely irregular, I will on this occasion grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. Defendant will disclose any and all involvement he has had with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the for I can read. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. I hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplementary hearing.
Dun, dun, dun.
Das Boot! Objection! Boot! Pray turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify that this vile and unremitting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice. But Lord Van Zeeks! I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now. And ever since that time, I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So I welcome the chance to testify now, and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. Then let justice decide, Lord Van Zeeks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. And what says the defense?
Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous. And Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment. He's not thinking logically.
You're right that he's not himself. But I knew it would be like this. And I came here determined to face him through whatever might arise. As a lawyer, and as his friend.
Then that's what we must do.
The defense has no objection, my lord. Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. As you wish, my lord.
Right. It's time for another round of listening to the man and taking down what he has to say. The Reaper and the Assassin Exchange.
I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason I went to Fresno Street that day and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson. Clearly, therefore, there's no reason to suspect me of being behind the Assassin Exchange.
So me thinks I'm gonna find the through line that connects Gregson, Wilson, and Van Zeeks. I've gotta find that somewhere. Could it mayhaps do with the fact that this might be it, because it's a Gregson's in the photo right there with y'all. This is like your first stand as when you prominently in Gregson's office. Yeah, that must be the through line there. That would certainly tie you to Gregson at least, and then probably further on to Wilson in some respect, but that's our first glance thinking at this. So, you deny all accusations by the prosecution? Both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey, and that you masterminded the Assassin Exchange. I acknowledge that the public at large believe me to be the Reaper. However, that's a fallacy which I alone am in a position to forswear. Naturally, the prosecution believes the testimony just given by the accused to be untrue. Yunosuke Naruhodo. Yes? Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? A desire to uncover the truth. Even if the truth proves your client to be guilty? From all my experiences in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later,
It will come out. So it's always my intention to work with my client in pursuit of the truth. I want you to remember what you just said. Enough dilatory chatter. Dilatory? 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 I've just got a confirmation of how you're meant to pronounce that just very quickly. Just because I need to know. Right. Okay, define. D-I-L-A-T-O-R-Y. Right. Based on what I found here, the dictionary definition and the correct pronunciation?
Dilatory.
Dilatory. As in intended to cause delay. That, okay, right, like delay, dilatory. I see now, so dilatory. Dilatory as in intended to cause a delay or be slow. Okay, there we have it. Just bring up the right window, put it there, and then I want to go to here. Okay. Okay, tally ho. Like, no, that's dilute. As in to dilute something as to make it less strong. Whereas this derives from delay, dilatory. Because it sounds a bit like delay. It's not delay. It's a weird spelling, I grant you, but apparently it derives from delay. So yeah. Enough dilatory. I'm getting it wrong again. Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense. Proceed to cross-examine the witness. Yes, my lord. There we go. It's back. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just waiting to point it out. The contradiction you're convinced lies somewhere within this man's testimony. You mean that's his job? I thought it was my job. Nah, we'll see. Well, since we have made it to this point here, I'll leave us back on this point here, and we're going to take our next break from here. I like to think what probably we're going to do is resolve this break into the testimony and then get to whatever point comes up next, and that's probably going to be our cut-off point. But we'll get there at some point soon, I assume. So, right, what I will do is take a quick break here because I actually do need to get to another bathroom break, actually, myself. So I'm going to use that time to do that now. If you need to get up and stretch your legs at this point while we take a break here, or do whatever business you need, that's what we'll do, Twitch people. We'll run the ads in here as well, and make that all good there. So yeah, YouTube land people, there will be no break coming up because we cut it out of our highlight as per usual, but do take some time. If you need to pause for a little while and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and if you've got any other business to do during while you're enjoying this, then please go and do that, because it's obviously very, very important to make sure you take care of yourselves. But yeah, I shall be back to figure this all out when I'm back in a few minutes. I'll see you then. So we come back. We're going to take down this man's testimony now in one way or another. Figure out how to do. It's kept me on the same 4 points that I've decided to take away with me here. So I've got to be just a bit more careful and confidence save where I need to from now on. But it should be okay. Alright, we're gonna get back and do the thing now. So welcome back, everyone. Here we go. Right. We always do the thing of pressing whatever we say. May the end, never taken in life. Never, I haven't instructed anybody to kill. Oh, really?
Hold it!
Hold it! Let's have a look then. So you're not what the general public referred to as the infamous Reaper of the Bailey? Exactly. Don't imagine for a moment that the court would be satisfied with a one-word answer on this. I realize that. If you're intending to comment on every sentence, this could take a while, Kazuma. Didn't you find it disturbing, though? That one by one, defendants who've been acquitted after your unsuccessful prosecution were killed? Let's be on to that question by posing another. If, one by one, defendants who've been acquitted after your successful defense were killed, would you find that disturbing? Disturbing? I couldn't possibly say how that would make me feel with a one-word answer like that. Exactly.
Well, that told me.
But even though I'm not the Reaper, that doesn't mean I ignored all the hearsay.
Right then.
You've been investigating the truth of the Reaper for years, and aware of Gregson's involvement.
Sure thing. Elaborate, please. Hold it.
You say for years. How long exactly? Since the very first time the Reaper's influence was felt in this courtroom. 10 years ago now. And your investigations led you somehow to Inspector Gregson, you're saying? I didn't want to believe it. He was a personal acquaintance. We'd worked on cases together in the past.
A friend, even?
It felt like a betrayal, but I demanded permission to search his office at the Yard without his knowledge. Which is when you found his secret notebook, is it? It's when I first learned of a location he'd noted only as Grouse, and the appointment at 5 PM on the 31st. Though I didn't know the significance of those details at the time.
So now we're at the nub of the matter.
As it turns out, the significance for me personally was very unfortunate.
You went to Fresno that day. How you came to discover the body? After said meeting was due to take place. Okay, hold it! But why did you go to that specific location?
I thought that if it was the Reaper's headquarters, then by turning up there at 5 o'clock, I would catch whoever was involved red-handed. Sadly, all that was awaiting me was the Inspector's corpse.
Yeah. Even though it wasn't designed for you, you walked straight into the trap set by Jigoku.
Exactly. Jigoku had intended to implicate Hugh Boone, but unhappily for me, I arrived at the scene first. Ha! A ridiculously careless blunder. You fell for one of the classic blunders.
Oh, moved on to just throwing insults around, I see then, Kazuma. Gosh, you're really not yourself, are you?
Think what you will, it doesn't change the truth.
No common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Wilson. I think we'll be playing that later, but...
Hold it!
Flavor text, please. Hold it! There is a link between you and Gregson, though.
Of course. We were close acquaintances. We'd worked on numerous cases together. I consider the man to be a mentor of sorts. He taught me a number of important lessons.
He did? Such as what?
Where to buy good fish and chips and such like.
Well, that was convincing.
Dr. Wilson was a coroner, of course, but that was some time in the past. And in any case, I understand it was several years ago now that he was invited to work at a Japanese university.
That's right. He was a visiting professor at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo. It is a valuable lesson, you know, where you get your good food. Where your good takeouts are, for sure, yeah. Like I said, when to play into a deal to get, like, food cheap. For example, if I'm in the mood to get some pizza at some point, the place I usually get from always has a deal that if you order in on Wednesdays or Saturdays, you can get half price off the cost of the pizza that you get. Side orders don't count, but the cost of the pizza is always half price if you order on the Wednesday or Saturday. You get it, like, either pick up or delivered. So I always save money in that regard. I can get myself a pretty big one that lasts me a couple of days, at least. And... yeah, like I said, save a lot of money. It's good. So anyway...
It should be unambiguously clear then that no link exists between myself and him. In other words, I had no motive for sending some assassin across the oceans to kill the man.
It sounds plausible enough, and I want to believe it. But something about this just doesn't sit quite right with me. There's no reason to suspect me of being behind the assassin exchange. I mean, what has kind of been sort of his crux, the crux in his armor every now and every time. Or like one of his main reasons for being like, I want to seek out what this was, is all because whomsoever he thought was responsible for doing away with his brother Clint, that's one of his like big drawing motives for doing anything, I would say. So I think that's going to come into play, I think. We'll see.
Hold it!
Anyway, let's press the last one. Hold it! Press the last one that we can't, yeah. Certainly as it stands, there's no evidence to suggest that you concocted—
Objection!
Objection! But as it stands, we have only the accused's insistence of his innocence. Sorry! Perhaps there is some reason that would explain why he masterminded the assassin exchange. And if a reason could be established later in these proceedings, then the accused claim in his testimony that he wasn't involved would amount to perjury. Well, yeah, that's true, but...
Clearly, Cosmo-sama intends to identify a reason and use it to make his case.
So if we don't identify something first...
He'll gain the advantage.
This could be dangerous. Aha, see, that's why I decided to not change back from my thinking voice here, because this is why. This is exactly why we go straight into this. A convincing testimony by Lord Van Zieks.
Certainly. With no apparent connection between the three men, there's no way to establish a motive. The testimony seems unassailable as far as I can see. Oh, dear me! What a bleak expression!
I agree. There doesn't appear to be any particular link between them at first glance. But with the inclusion of one other person... I must be overthinking it, surely.
Another person, Mr. Naruhodo?
I need to think back over all the information we've gleaned so far.
Alright. And I'll review my notes about the case and all the evidence in the court record.
Could it be that Lord Van Zieks has something to hide after all? No common thread exists between myself, Rexon, and Wilson. You sure about this? You sure about this? You sure about this? Let's go over everything very, very carefully here. So what I think is the common thread here is your brother. You're like, no, my brother. This is entirely why, because obviously you're blood related by being family. He's possibly related as well because involved in the tutelage so he could become a prosecutor in the first place, and thus was nice of him there. And Wilson is implicated because he did the autopsy on Clint Van Zieks after he was done in. And thus that would then put Gregson right here. No, not the photo. Because didn't... Right at the end, the notes. Credit to Inspector Gregson for petitioning so doggedly for the autopsy procedure. Yeah, that puts Gregson in here as well, so that puts all three of them in here, right now. So maybe this is what we need to present in a way as well, because Clint being the victim, you being related by blood to Clint Van Zieks, Wilson being the coroner who did the autopsy on Clint, and Gregson for petitioning to have the autopsy be done in the first place. There's your common link, sir.
Objection!
Boom! Objection! What is this? An autopsy report? Wait. This is 10 years old. From the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zieks. What? My
brother's autopsy report? I'm pleased to see the defense doesn't intend to run from the undeniable truth. Order in court! What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report here, counsel? This, the autopsy report for the professor's final victim, is an indelible link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant. Not that accursed name again! The Professor! I've personally researched all of the court records relating to that case. Sorry, this is gonna be my PC sound, not yours. Fucking pop-ups. I know that at the time, autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victims' souls. And for a member of the aristocracy like Lord Clink Van Zeeks, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers that be to allow the autopsy to go ahead. Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure.
And it was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document.
As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proved Genshin Asogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind. Indeed. That was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zeeks here to avenge his brother's senseless death, with a marvelous victory in court. A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true. What? Could the same be said if it turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and send him to his death? That's outrageous! And now, 10 years later, for some reason the secret has been threatened and needs protecting. Which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and in Britain, using the two killers recruited for the assassin exchange. Yikes. Order! Order at once! 10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer, to be sentenced to death. But it was all a sham, and I swore to myself that I'd prove it. Which is why I had to come to Britain, whatever the cost. You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to toast this vengeful Nipponese's tenacity of purpose here. I almost ran out of breath saying that, Jesus. I forgot to breathe before saying it. However, he who fails to quash his emotions in the courtroom has failed as a lawyer. Come on, Kazuma! You know this won't wash! You're claiming your father was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago! You must see that without evidence, there's nothing more than a wild accusation! As it happens, I have evidence. What?! As the court has heard, I crossed the channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him on the pretext of being the assassin recruited to kill Seishiro Jigoku. But my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth. What truth? The truth about the evidence. And he acknowledged the one I'd already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in that autopsy 10 years ago. What? A secret? I know nothing of any secret! While we waited for my supposed mark in Jigoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword, Karuma, before the inspector's eyes. He very quickly understood what my true motive was. Right. I see. You're that Asogi's young lad, are you? And what? You're gonna cut me down with that thing, is that it? That will very much depend on the answers you give to my questions. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth. That's all. Before we get into it, let me make one thing clear. I still believe your father was the professor. There's no doubt in my mind. But unfortunately, back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick. So, you admit it then? The evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated? It was for the good of the country. Anyway, I was just following orders. Orders? What exactly did you do? Speak! I'm not saying another word. Even if your life depends on it? That's right. Even then.
So that's when the tip of the sword broke. In a wild slash of fury, Gregson managed to get his trunk up to defend himself just in time. And that's where the damage there came from. But then what would explain that? I don't know. Not gonna be related in the end of the day, but we'll see. So that's when the tip of the sword broke.
Oh, Kazuma-sama.
If the results of Plain Van Zieks' autopsy were fabricated, then the investigating officer Gregson and the lead coroner Wilson must have known about it. And they can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in that way by one man. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Barak Van Zieks. Orgasm simply swung out the trunk away from Gregson to vent his anger. That possibly too. Yeah. I mean, either way. That's where the damage was done. Either frustration. At the end of the day, it was literally just as frustration. So yeah, that makes sense. In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize this exchange of assassins. Exactly. And as was established earlier, it has to have been the Reaper himself who liaised with Jigoku in Japan to arrange the exchange. So, it follows that the Reaper's true identity can only be that of the man who stands accused in this courtroom today, Barak Van Zieks.
Objection!
Objection! Kazuma Asogi. What? What you've just told the court. Are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for that trial 10 years ago? I heard it with my own ears. His shameful admission. In that case, I know the name of the Reaper. What? Lord Van Zieks? I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities to one. If Lord Van Zieks isn't the one behind all this, then yes, there is only one other person who could have done something like that. I believe I know who it is too. You! I
just had a feeling this name was gonna come up. The true identity of the fate of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is... It's finally time. I'm gonna confidence save and be sure. Big reveal time. And this... Susanna? No. No! Definitely not! I don't see it to be anybody else either. No, not Herlock, no. Iris, definitely not. Eugen, Seichiro, we've already took him down. Gina, far too innocent and baby must protect. He knows his name as well. Was ready to do. None of the other superficial people are in any way relevant. It's, I think, very much finally time to reveal that you have had your ulterior motives all of this goddamn time, sir. We've done our confidence save to be sure. Watch this moment just fall flat in his face if I'm wrong, just so. The true identity of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is the Lord Chief Justice Mael Strongheart.
Take that!
Take that. Can't believe Natsume did this! That poor author has been through enough in this goddamn game in the 2 times we saw it, 3 times we saw him technically, but he's been through enough, I assure you. He's just gonna be in Japan right now, very peacefully writing all of his novels and becoming a household name in the Japanese education system, that people will be reading all his books when they do their Japanese language studies, because of course they will. He's just basically doing that, making a name for himself there. He's completely innocent in all this. He's had enough trouble as it is. The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulated the autopsy results is the Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Mael Strongheart. Whoa, Lord Strongheart. Yes, it's true that 10 years ago the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court. But he only took over the case after his brother, Lord Clint Van Zeeks, had been killed. No, Fran, we're definitely not implicating the cat in this. The cat is way too precious to be able to pull any of this off.
It's just Kitty.
At the end of the day, come on now. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. Well, Lord Van Zeeks, 10 years ago, I was very new to my profession, but I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. He wrestled away that case because it was going to be Strongheart. Ah. Wonder if he then decided. Very potentially. Anyway. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the laws to allow my brother's corpse to be examined, all the evidence I was given, the autopsy report, it all came from you. I've spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle the trial. Because everything was in place for him already. He definitely would have followed the point to its logical end, followed all the stuff that was laid out already to its logical endpoint that Strongheart would have been aiming for just anyway, had he continued to be the person in charge of taking that trial. Everything laid out beautifully for him, so he didn't really need to do much. So he was confident enough to like take a step back.
and thus concoct more bad things in the way, in the background. There we have it.
But I see now. I was very much mistaken.
It was a hugely influential force that caused the Inspector and the Coroner to break the law 10 years ago. And that same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world, by Seishiro Jigoku.
Lord Strongheart! Everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey! Boot, again! The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense. It doesn't warrant a response. Ah! A formal accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense, a wild fantasy at best. You're not gonna defend yourself? You claim there was some wrongdoing with Lord Clink Van Zieks' autopsy? That's utterly untrue!
Objection!
Objection! But I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted to it. And where is your evidence? What? Gregson is dead now. Unless you were thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand? You mean to say... I forget how the system works in your little backwater country, but in the courts of the British Empire, without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can't possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. Ah! Order! Order in court! Following Inspector Gregson's murder, and in the light of Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify about the events of 10 years ago, is there? So that was the real purpose of the assassin exchange. This court has no business raking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied. I take it there are no objections.
Wait another 100 years for that, sadly. Shame.
Ugh. Kazuma.
Jigoku to Kazuma just before the verdict in G11. And do not forget to fulfill the mission imposed upon you. Yes. Yes, indeed.
He's more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do now? Is there no other avenue we can go down in pursuit of the truth about what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify about Clink Van Zieks' autopsy!
You say you intend to do everything Mr. Asogi planned to do. Are you firmly set on that path? Then in GAA 2-3, his calling, you say, has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? The mission at which was young Lord Tuna was charged, what do you suppose it really was? Oh, that's coming back, thanks. Yeah, I see that. So is there someone who can testify about the autopsy? There is, you know. John Wilson only supplied the official signature at the bottom. But the person who actually wrote it was the other visiting student at that time. There is someone we can call on. He's gone to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks. Even so far as dispatching an assassin all the way to Japan to ensure Dr. Wilson's silence. And Dr. Side won't say anything against Strongheart. But there's still one ray of hope. Objection! Huh? Actually, there is one person. One person who could still testify about this autopsy. Don't be ridiculous! There's no one left! Who, Yunosuke? Who? Tell me! Kazuma, Please, this trial can't end! Not yet! I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the truth. The person the defense would like to call to the stand to testify about the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zeeks is who penned the autopsy report in the first place. Cover the safe just to make sure. Don't want this moment to flop on its backside. For me to have to do all that again. But the one who actually penned the autopsy report at the very first instance.
Take that!
Which would prove that he was there to see all of it. Oh, heaven help us! Another Japanese! Is that your xenophobia coming through there? Because you're hot under the cosh? Because we're gonna get your ass. An expert in forensic medicine, my lord. Professor Yujin Mikotoba. 16 years ago, he came to London with Seishiro Jigoku and Genshin Asogi as a visiting student. And what could his testimony possibly tell us?
Professor Mikotoba was a primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report.
Incorrect! The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carries his signature.
It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it.
In other words, Professor Mikotoba witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The defense demands that Professor Mikotoba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us. The defense's demand is denied. What?
But Professor Mikotoba is in London at this very moment. We could summon him to the stand in minutes.
No. Of course he's not going to agree to it. Strongheart has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too concerned about protecting himself. Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory, as you seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago, you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and of masterminding the assassin exchange. I did, yes. So present your evidence for those claims and make your case complete. At this time, I don't have the requisite evidence. But that's exactly why we need witness testimony. The professor case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as I stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by Japanese Supreme Court Judge Seishiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they will be investigated in due course by the proper authorities.
Objection!
Objection! But we all know what will happen. That'll just give the mastermind of the whole venture time to cover his tracks again. By which you mean me. Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you will be remanded following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust, since you gave your word. Ah! This futile game of revenge is over, young Master Asogi. Ah! 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 That would be all. Let me just go for it again, because I wasn't expecting that to be over there. That will be all. I hereby declare this trial to be over. Court is... Hold it. The goat has arrived. But, Mr. Sholmes! This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public. You will leave the courtroom at once. Objection! Mr. Sholmes was instrumental in the apprehension of Seishiro Jikoku before he fled from Europe. The court should hear what he has to say. Lord Mael Strongheart, it's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. Is it really? And why would that be? You need only recall your own words from the opening of the trial to answer that question. If I may, we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that it is the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself that's erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered! It would seem we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? After all, why have you been invited to attend? To nod along to the prevarications of your superiors? To be yes-men, as it were? Order! Order in court! It seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices. A door that is ajar. Let us emerge from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you, and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open now. The auditors in the gallery have no right to express an opinion on court proceedings! Silence! He is right. The judge has absolute authority here. Yes, if he recalls the trial to an end, it must end. But will it really do? I sense dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed. Is there a single here present who can honestly say... What did he say? Is there a single person here present who can honestly say he doesn't sense the same? What? What's... A trial should go on! Summon the witness! That's right, we need to clear this up before that young Japanese fellow is remanded in custody! My lord, you should show those present that you will uncover the whole truth here! Vindicate yourself in this outlandish accusation! The truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth! That's the very foundation of British law! A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery. On with the trial! Testify! Testify! Well, my lord, you hear the voice of British justice, I take it? I think you'll find it will be rather awkward to silence. The court will recess briefly. I have no intention of shrinking from these allegations. Bailiff! Arrange for the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courthouse, we shall reconvene.
recess won't be necessary, my lord. Pardon? Megatober is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today and is waiting in the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact. What? Professor Megatober is here in the courthouse! Mr. Sholmes! You? Expecting Sholmes to have brought the other judge with him. Well, I mean, it would probably have to happen since that, if by the end of this we need to have Strongheart brought to the stand to do so. Maybe it does happen at some point, but just not now. Mr. Sholmes, you didn't know this would happen, did you? My dear fellow, no one is in a better position to answer that question than you, surely. I wasn't asking just for the fun of it, you know. Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Sholmes. However, you are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? I trust you have Iris' little lucky charm with you? Absolutely! It's still in my pocket. She sends her regards. And a reminder, if you find yourself at a dead end, the ears are at your disposal. Just one tug, if you please. Oh, of course! In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand. So, it's Lord Strongheart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly is this trial gonna take me, I wonder? Just how deep am I about to be plunged into the blackness of the abyss? Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under. Please give it to me continued. Because there is an absolutely perfect time to call it a day here. There is an absolutely brilliant moment to call it right here. Save the slot. Save complete. Third part of the trial will resume. This one here. I wonder why. Why are they there? So 3 in the stand. I see. So wait a moment. We are stopping here. We are seeing no more of this. One more stream. I feel like, yeah. Next time we play at this, we will dedicate it to getting to the end because we are scratching. We are scratching on the door of it. I feel like. But what a great time today. What great things we came across today. And yeah, when we return, time to put the Maelstrom, Mr. Strongheart himself, will be put to the sword, put under the cosh. We will get him done in by any means necessary. Hopefully with the right evidence, and with my correct brain thinking. But we'll do that when we do our next stream of this. What a brilliant cutoff. That is absolutely perfect. I'll take the question why Maria Gori is like right there at the end as well. I wonder what she might have to say. But we'll see. But for now, is it already on the schedule? Yes, it will be. I'll tell you all about that post-stream, so do stick around after that as well, Twitch people. But yeah, we will be calling the episode to an end right now. And yeah, next time out, the finale of this whole thing. Of the entire Great Ace Attorney saga. Looking forward to it, very, very much so. Okay, you two, Twitch people, if you have missed any of this and would like to see it back later on, you can visit me on the Laura Petal VOD Twitch channel where we will have this already in a week's time for you. The highlight will be made so you can enjoy it back there and then if you missed anything. Sans all the breaks, it'll be great. And if you want to watch it all back and enjoy it again, you are more than welcome to do so there. And if you are currently doing so right now in our YouTube channel, in this video, cheers and thank you so much for coming down for this adventure.
and we will wrap it up next time, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, come along for that if you'd like to. Make sure you're in the know. If you want to hit the like and subscribe button and the bell as well down below, you will get the push as to when we make the final episode ready for you to be viewable. And as well, we will also tell you to make sure you check out the description down below, because all my important links are there. If you would like a chance to see some of the live streams happen of whatever I get up to, my link is down there as well. So come along for a live stream. We do typically Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and we would love to have you on board and to see you over there. Also, make sure I've got all the links down there. I've got my socials, I've got a Discord down there as well. So get in there, join all that good stuff, and yeah, if you come along for the journey, we'll be glad to have you along, and we hope that we give you more great times coming up very, very soon. But for now, thank you for coming in for this episode. You've been brilliant for coming along today. Love y'all so much for sticking with it. And with all that said, that's going to be it. Next time out, we steal our resolve. We finish the episode, we finish the game, and we have a great time doing so. Thank you for coming along, everybody. For now, stay awesome. Enjoy whatever's next in your plans. If it's another video of mine, thank you so much. If it's something else, then I hope you enjoy it. And I hope I get the chance to improve your day and make you smile and give you a good time at some point in the future again. But for now, I'll see you all later. Take care of yourselves.